Hello, welcome back to another tutorial. This one is about using brushes. What we're going to cover in this tutorial include using brushes, using erasers, and using the lasso tools to select a portion of an image and then remove the background. So what you'll need to do is download this brushes image and then open it up in Photoshop. So here's the brushes image opened up in Photoshop, and the first thing that we're going to want to do is duplicate our layer. So you do that, Command J on a Mac, Control J on a PC. And what we're going to do is we're going to hide the background layer. So as I'm cutting the girl out of the background, then I can actually see what I'm doing. So there's a couple different ways to erase the background. One way is to use what's called the background eraser tool. So if I go over to the eraser and I click and hold and then I select background eraser tool, you notice you get this cursor that looks like a circle with a plus sign. Now what's interesting about this particular tool is that it works best when there's a lot of contrast between the thing you're trying to cut out and the background. So what you need to do essentially is put the cursor on partially the background, partially on the thing you're trying to cut out, so that that plus sign is on the background, and then I can start deleting. Okay, and then I just kind of go around this edge and I can follow it. And again, this is working on contrast. And so right now it's actually doing a pretty good job. So you notice right here that it erased part of what I want to keep. And so I have a couple of options. The main one is to go up here to the tolerance and drop my tolerance down. Let's go to like 25. So now I can come in and I can start erasing, and then hopefully when I get down to this area, it doesn't erase nearly as much or any at all. And so I'm just going to keep going around. Now you notice right here again that it erased a little bit of the shoulder. So I'm going to undo that. I'm going to drop my tolerance. Let's go to 15. And then I'm going to erase again. And that looks pretty good. So now I can come over to this other side and do it as well. Okay, now I've essentially got her cut out, but I don't have her cut out all the way because I still have this background. And so there's a lot of different ways that you can erase the background. You can get a really big, just normal eraser tool and start erasing it. One way is to get the Lasso Tool, and in this one I'm using the polygonal Lasso Tool. And I'm just going to kind of go into this part that I've erased already. And then you just go back to where you started from, and then it creates that line. I'm going to select the inverse, so that's Command Shift I on a Mac or Control Shift I on a PC, and then I'm going to just hit the backspace and I can delete everything that is there. And that's one way to delete the background or to cut out somebody from the background. One other way that we can delete the background is to use the lasso tool, and I'm going to use the magnetic lasso tool. Now, like the background eraser tool, this works best when there's a lot of contrast. And so all I need to do is kind of select, and then I can just go along this area here. And what it's doing is it's essentially putting down a selection line around this edge. And again, this is really working well because I have a lot of contrast, and those edges are really defined. And so I can kind of just go around. And then if I double click, it creates the dotted line, the selection line, and I can go ahead and select the inverse and then just hit the backspace, and I have it like that. There's a lot of other ways to delete the background as well, so If neither of those two ways is really working for your particular image, then go ahead and look up some other ways. There's a lot of different ways to do it. So now that we have our background erased, what we want to do is we want to put some things in between these two layers to make it look like it's behind her on the wall. So to do this, what I want to do is go ahead and add some text. Now once you've got your text the way that you like it, you'll notice probably that it's on the very top. So to get it underneath so that it looks like it's actually behind her, what I need to do is drag this text layer underneath the layer with the deleted background, and now it's behind her, and we're starting to create a more dynamic image. So I want to add some things to this, and I'm going to do that in the form of a brush. So brushes are a really powerful tool that allow you to add things to your image, and there's anything that you can possibly think of most likely is going to be a brush. So one place to go and find a brush is at this site called Brusheezy, and there are thousands and thousands of places to get brushes, so by no stretch is this the only place to go. Feel free to explore and find your own place. This place is just kind of an easy one. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go for paint splatter, kind of give this that grungy look, and I'm going to find some paint splatter brushes and download them. So once you've downloaded your brush, now it's time to install it. So to do that, I want to make sure that I have my brush tool selected, and that's the letter B on the keyboard. And then I'm going to go up to my brush selection here in the options bar, and I'm going to open up that box, and then over on the top right hand side there's this little gear. If you click on that and then go down to where it says load brushes, then it'll pull up a navigation window, and I'm going to go down. It's in my downloads, and I downloaded this Bombay 101 brush. So I'm going to select that, and you know that it's the brush because it's .abr. Okay, and then I'm going to hit open. And then at the bottom of my brush selection is all these brushes that I have selected. And so those are the brushes that I'm going to use. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over to my layers palette, and I'm going to create a brand new blank layer by clicking the new layer icon at the bottom of the palette. And I'm going to drag that underneath my layer 1, because again I want this to look like it's behind the girl. And so I'm going to add some paint splatters to this UR here, and I want to make it the same color as the UR here to make it look like it was kind of painted on. So then I'm just going to scale my brushes, and the best way to scale your brushes is to use the brackets on the right side of the letter P on the keyboard, and then I can go ahead and make it how I want, and I can start adding this to my UR here. Now if you are wanting to rotate your brush, because sometimes that happens, if you go over to this custom toolbar here, and if you get the brush options, then it allows you to do a lot of different things. And so you can use this one right here to rotate it. So now it gives it just a little bit different look. You can also scale it and do a lot of other things with it to make it kind of fit your look. Okay, so then I'm going to go ahead and just keep changing with my specific brushes that I'm using. I'm going to keep changing some of these to give me the look that I want. One thing that I would suggest is that every time you change brushes or colors of brushes or things like that, I would create a new layer. That way it just makes it easier to erase things if you need to, or to undo, simply because you're not putting everything on the exact same layer. Now once you've gotten all of your brushes and text and all that stuff the way that you like it, the last step is to add a blending mode to the layers, my brush layers and my text layer, to make it look like it's actually part of the wall. And so to do that, I'm just going to select my layers, and you can select multiple layers holding the shift key, and I'm going to go up to my blending modes drop down, and I'm just going to kind of play around and get some different ones. Now if you're noticing when you're blending them that you can see how mine here, it's kind of darker where you know, the brushes overlap. Then what I need to do is I need to actually merge these two layers together. So to do that, you select your two layers, you right click, and then you just choose merge layers. Then it creates one layer, and now I can go and add my blending mode. So once you've done that, then you're pretty much done, and you can go ahead and save it as a JPEG and upload it to Canvas.